everyone. I'm welcoming you to my YouTube channel, and today we have a podcast with a wonderful guest, Tamara Lechner. And hi, everyone. Hi. And I'm going to introduce Tamara very short because I would like her to talk more about what she's doing, not professional, because she's educated in psychology, as I know. But at the same time, Tamara is like wonderful flourishing science business leader. It's interesting combination of words, and Tamara will explain, right? And right, all for human flourishing, culture consultant, peak performance coach. And she has own account and website, and more information about how you can find when you scroll down the video and find information about my guest today. But I don't want to steal any time from Tamara, and that's why, Tamara, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to have this opportunity to chat and connect with another Canadian.
Yes, and we have snow today.
Not on the West Coast. It's sunny and gorgeous out here.
Yes, but well, it's winter time is coming, so no wonder. But we're gonna have a very warm conversation, and I hope people would like it. So, dear viewer, please join us and write comments and give us some ideas, because I hope this is not the first meeting with Tamara. As usually, like with other my guests, we usually have some other podcasts. Yes, and I would like Tamara tell a little bit more about this flourishing business, about this like terminology, because the more I meet psychologists, the more I actually surprised with the direction the psychology goes, and as well we have more specialists in this area. So please explain a little bit more what you do, and what does it mean flourishing business coach or psychologist.
Okay, well, thank you. I always like to start with common language, and my journey started using the word happiness. I became really curious after my daughter was diagnosed with autism quite a few years ago, back in the 2000s, why I was happier than a lot of the other moms in my support group. And so I backwards changed myself to positive psychology by being curious about what I was doing differently. And I basically figured out that PERMA, which probably most of your audience is quite familiar with, was the magic recipe that was working for me. And like many positive psychology practitioners, then I thought, well, how do I get this to more people? One should not need to have a diagnosis or some type of trauma in order to discover positive psychology. And so my mind said, what if we taught this in schools? What if we could teach the proactive skills to be happy rather than waiting to be reactive when something goes wrong? And it was exactly around that time that Martin Seligman and his team had gone over to Australia to work with the gang at Geelong Grammar School. They had the same idea. So it was wonderful. It confirmed that, okay, this is a thing. And then my next thought was, we need this in Canada. Why are they doing this only in Australia? I reached out to the Australian team, and within a month, I was out there training to learn how to do what they were doing. And they hired me to be the regional manager of Canada and the United States, bringing positive psychology or positive education, as they called it, to schools. And so that was kind of the first layer of my journey. I also, at the same time, partnered with a wonderful human, Jason Van Schie, who owns Flourish DX, which is a diagnostic that he had created based on the Geelong Grammar model to assess in the moment where you were sitting in these flourishing skills, which tools you were using and which ones you could use more of. And so I became fascinated about how to measure well-being. And so I started off at happiness, and then I thought, okay, this is well-being. What is well-being? Well, it's feeling good and functioning well. But that evolved to also consider giving back for the greater good, which really is how I think of flourishing: feeling good, functioning well, and contributing meaningfully. So COVID happens, schools change. I start to work with coaching. I start to work in organizational consulting. I start to work anywhere that I think I can help. And fast forward to today, I am deeply curious about the intersection of all of this science and how AI can speed it up, because I've recognized that academia and psychological research is much slower than the individual application. And so I kind of think of myself as a jack of all trades who is deeply curious about how humans can change in a way that allows them to be their best and do their best. And that's where I work.
It's very interesting, and thank you for your explanation what flourishing means. Because I'm sure like everybody has own opinion, but at the same time, it's a terminology, and we have a lot of terminology in psychology as well that's not related to medicine or other like subjects, other fields of like human activity. And it's interesting you mentioned about flourishing tools, and what do you mean about tools? Like, because it's quite intriguing information that we can change something using these tools, right? We can improve our life and well-being. And by the way, I started to write a book about women's well-being and physical and mental health together with psychiatrists from Argentina. And we have meeting, we already made a plan of the book, and we start writing because we would like also like tell women that we have different periods of in life, and our physical health depends on mental health as well, and mental health depends on physical health, right? So we kind of like a whole, not just like separated by reproductive system and something else, but we live in society, we have marriages, like family, and that's why we decided to dig in and then explain more that we depend not just like on diagnosis of our reproductive system, we kind of something more. And sorry for interrupting and going in a different direction, but back to the tools, I would like to hear more.
Yeah, I want to just double click on something you said, though, about the male female difference, because I was at a book launch the other day. My good friend Dan Pontefract wrote a book called Work Life Bloom. And one of the ahas, he's a man, and he said this like it would be startling to all of the humans, that interestingly, in the organizational sector, women and their mental health is much poorer than male mental health. And all of the women in the room kind of went, duh, we do the work at work, and then we have a lot of the hidden jobs at home. And so all of those layers are just fascinating to me. So I can't wait to read your book, because spotlighting these things that seem like everybody knows them, they seem like common sense, but I'm a real fan of saying common sense is not very common. So we need people who are shining a light on that. Back to these tools or interventions, psychologists love to do their research, and they love to figure out what makes us tick, right? It's part of, I think, the why of why someone goes into that field. They want to understand not only what is happening, but what can we do to improve it? And so those are often called positive psychology interventions.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no shortage of research around common ones like 3 good things. It's a gratitude intervention that very simply is you list 3 good things every day, and it contributes to you feeling physically and mentally healthy. And this is proven, it's deeply proven, yet most humans aren't doing it, right? We know we should eat better, but we don't. We know we should spend outside time every day, but we don't. And so my fascination is, how do we turn these interventions that we know would work? How do we get ourselves to do them? And that's part of what I'm doing now. I'm working on something called a spark, which is a little habit nudge that
Mm-hmm.
helps people who have learned something. Maybe you've learned it by reading a book, maybe you've learned it by listening to a podcast, and you go, oh, I'm so excited. And then you do nothing to change. These sparks that I've been creating are designed to help you. If you say, man, I just learned how to stay focused longer because I listened to Stephen Kotler talk about the science of flow, Well, then you can click on a series of these sparks that will come to you. And these are little interventions that say, hey, one of the obstacles of flow is distraction. Here's how you turn the notifications off on your phone. And so when it's that simple and it's handed to you in a really curated way from a source that you trust, it helps us to be better. And my hope is all of this great work that's being done all around the world. You're talking about Argentina. My colleagues are in Melbourne and at Harvard and down at Claremont College, and everybody's doing the same work, but we haven't really changed the levels of stress, depression, anxiety. In fact, you know that they're getting
Yeah.
worse. And so that's the problem that I'm intrigued as a business person. And the reason I say business person is because business is fast and academia is slow. And so I've always kept my foot deeply connected to the researchers who are doing the brilliant things. And then I take it and run with it really quickly and try to make it into something that actually makes change. That's where I'm curious.
Well, I'm waiting for the results of your work and some publication as well, because it's interesting. And you said, yeah, we have habits, and sometimes we have the sparkles. Okay, finally, and then boom, we back to our habits. And it's like a couple of days ago, we went to Quebec City, beautiful city. I love the city, and it was my birthday, and we had a wonderful time with my husband. And there was a lot of steps, ups and down, because the city on a hill, like and you have to go up and down, up and down, up and down. In the end, I was like, just like, I had a shortness of breath. And then my husband said, dear, you have to take care of yourself and care about your heart. So you have to start exercise, because before I was exercising, but now not so often, because busy, 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 busy. Okay, okay, all. And I promise, okay, I promise, finally, I will be starting when we come back. Okay, already 2 days back. Well, I exercise, walking my dogs the same as I did before, 5-6 kilometers, but nothing else. And, I don't have the sparkles that I need to take care of my heart anymore. I know I need, but that's a habit that, like, okay, I'm busy. I have to do this. I have to do that. Oh no, maybe I'll do this. And I found it's very difficult to push yourself, even if you understand that you need to do something because you're getting older. Of course, you cannot be so strong like before, but at the same time, you can be for your age, and then you have to kind of take care of your physical body, because with mental is okay, but physical, and that's actually we all probably facing. Then we got this positive energy. We got this like sparkles in our life, and then suddenly, or not suddenly, but anyway. And I remember there was a study that shows that it was actually a business study for business, that business education, that when we get in something like positive, and then we got this idea, okay, I have to do this to be successful, right? So usually it keeps like on a quite high level for a week, and then slowly falling down. By the end of the set week, we're on the same level of energy and kind of emotion like we were before. That's why we need constant push, constant motivation. And unfortunately, we don't have motivation always. We cannot go to all conferences or all trainings all the time because we're busy. We have to work, we have to survive, we have to, and it's a kind of like our life. But maybe you have some kind of idea how we can push yourself more successful, more productively, let's say, without coming back to the same level. Like, okay, I promise, but never. It's
Yeah,
like a diet. It's like a diet. What are you on a diet? Yes, I'm on a diet. Like, I'm on a seafood diet. What does it mean? Like, whatever I see, I eat. It's the seafood diet.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, all of the research shows that we know what we should do to feel our best as humans, but we have a hard time doing it. And one of my um, favorite people on this topic is Gretchen Rubin. And again, she's more of a practitioner than an academic, but she's done a lot of work on accountability and the role, external accountability. 80% of us test into a demographic that says, I will not go running by myself, but if I'm part of a running group, I will show up and run. And so part of what I help clients do when I'm coaching is number one, I want them to understand how they best form habits because we're all unique. I don't like accountability. I'm less likely to form a habit if I have external accountability. I just take care of myself. And so we're different as humans. We need to understand how we work best. And I wish school helped us to learn this before we came out the
Yeah.
door as adults. But once you know that, you can set yourself up for success. And another one of my favorites, Dr. Andrew Huberman, who has a wonderful podcast, The Huberman Lab, he talks a lot about the role of dopamine in our reward system.
Yeah.
And so let's go back to that diet, the seafood diet, right? And so some things, the reward cycle doesn't set us up for success. So this is like working out. If you ask me ever, do I want to work out? No, I don't want to go work out. It doesn't feel good. It's got time in the middle of my day. When I do it, I feel really good. But
Yeah.
that reward cycle is a little bit broken because it always feels like that. It never, for me, gets to the point where I am like waking up and going, yes, I want to go work out. However, the reverse is true. If I see a chocolate croissant, I want to eat it every time. Do I feel good after I've eaten it? No. And so we've got this really confusing reward cycle that is part of our physiology that we have to outsmart. And so part of creating better habits is looking at that system and going, okay, how can I outsmart this? And there's so many strategies. So for me, working out, it's on my calendar. I'm really great at being accountable to things I put in my own calendar. If I put every single day on my calendar that I'm going for a hike, I do that. If I say Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm going to go lift weights, I do that. So I know this works for me, whereas other people might need to have a partner they go with, or a dog is a great accountability partner. You talked about your dog, and it's a good
Exactly.
strategy to go, okay, I gotta go out. My dog needs to go out. And so I think part of the psychology of getting stuff done that we want to do so that we can do all the other things that feel fun really is about having strategies. And one of my favorites is kind of just a set it and forget it. This is what I do, and this is when I do it. It's always on my calendar. And then if I need to shift it, I will shift it inside of a day, but I won't take it off the day, which works for me. And again, it's so individualized, right? I've worked with so many clients in my coaching practice, and there is not one strategy. That is the problem. Everybody wants you to give them a recipe, but
Yeah.
we're only
Yeah.
able to give them a list of ingredients, and they have to figure out their own recipe.
It's true. Like everybody has to find their own way of supporting herself in a way all these plans will be realized. And it's very important because like there's different, like you said, different motivations, different like strategies. Like I talked to my friend just a couple days ago and she fell in love and then was disappointed very much. It didn't go the way she wanted. But it was a very good stimuli for her to start taking care of herself because she said, when I was in love, when I had this feeling, it's not probably love, maybe flirt, maybe some kind of sparkles. But she said I had very special feelings inside, and I realized I want back to these feelings. I want like to be shining, happy. And then she said, that's I realized I need to take care of myself. So I need to lose some weight. I need to exercise. I need to continue think positively. I need just to be happy that I'm free and still can look for some friend, like boyfriend or whatever. I mean, a partner. But it means she wasn't up. She was upset at the beginning, but then we talked, and then she said, "You know what? Yeah, you're right." Like we started talking, and she said, I want to feel this again, so I can feel this again. And that's kind of for me the thought that I have to take care of myself first of all, and then she's going to the gym. She's like, I'm telling you, like completely different reaction usually people have when they realize that something happened and there is no love. Like there was a lot of dreams, ambitions, and nothing happened. But I guess this negative experience was the beginning of positive, actually became a positive experience. And it was her motivation. But I'm not gonna be in love because I have a nice husband. So for me, it's not a motivation to go to the gym. Maybe I should. I don't know. But my point is, like, I'm looking for motivation. I said to her, I'm lucky I have a dog because at least I can walk 10 kilometers with my dog per day, which is quite enough. It's a lot. And then I can exercise and breathe and look around, like, and be happy. So I said, I found some kind of, like, sublimation of my deficit of motions or deficit of other exercise. But at the same time, it's not enough for me. Like, I can feel I have to do some, like, other exercises. So, and that's I'm looking for stimuli again. I'm just okay. So and then I was thinking today, maybe her experience will be as similar for me. That if my friend start taking care of herself, maybe we can do it together. But we live separately, but like in different parts of Canada. But so it doesn't matter. We can talk online. We can, like, chat. But it was a good kind of, like, push from for me. It's a work of brain. It's a work of brain. You understand you have to improve your health, so you're looking for solution that most suitable for yourself, not to other people, right? So
Yeah, and the one that you just used, talking about your friend as an external motivator, it's one I use a lot with clients. My husband, I'm someone that if I decide, okay, I'm a woman of a certain age, I want to make sure I take care of my bone density, I need to lift weights,
yeah.
schedule it on Tuesdays and I go. But my husband doesn't. And he said, oh, can't we do something together?
Mm-hmm.
I like to work out in the morning. He likes to work out at night. So what I started doing was texting him. I grab my phone and I text a picture when I'm at the gym. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like a nudge for him that I'm here. Where's your picture? And it's a great way for us to have it has a lot of benefit because it says, I love you. I'm thinking about you and your health. And it says, I'm here. Now it's your turn. Show me that you're there. So it's this nice upward spiral of
True.
motivation and doing something together, even though you're not together. So I love that you thought of that idea of doing it with your friend. And I think that's a brilliant strategy.
Well, because if you're alone, like not everyone can be alone and, let's say, run in the morning or evening alone. Even like in Quebec, it was like almost 2 degrees, very cold. We saw a group of young people running through the park, and my husband said, I don't know what actually motivates them to run in so early hours and then in such weather when it's really cold. Because we were dressed properly, they were dressed like runners, right? And I said, maybe the motivation that the group, a team of these runners, they laugh, they talk, they have kind of like they have like power together to support each other to complete this task, even this type of weather, and even if it's cold, even if it's wet after rain, still they are, like, not just jogging, but they are laughing, joking. They they discuss something when they do the stops. And it was amazing because maybe if I have a group, a team, maybe I would like to join, because it's an atmosphere of friendship, of support. It's different, and then you're part of the team. You're not just a lonely person that look at the your belly, your extra weight, and you need to kind of, like, lose, and then you cannot start because it's not easy to encourage yourself, especially after first try. You're usually, like, feeling like down because it's pain in your body everywhere, like, right? So, and it's true, like, some people need a team to uh, um, improve this, like, own condition well-being, let's say, right? And it's very interesting conversation because we try to tell people that they have to listen to their inner being, what they want and what they need, and probably not just copy someone, but feel the comfort. Especially we often, I realize we often we miss transformation period. Like if I want to have a weight of this amount, like of pounds or kilos, whatever, and if I want to look better, and if I want this and that, there's a transformation period when you start and then you come to this point, right? And I found that many coaches, many people who are involved in this improving of health and well-being, they forget about transformation period. They never mention it. They just, okay, this is your goal, go, 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 go. Yeah. But what about this like period? Like somebody can do it fast, somebody can do it slower. And that's, we probably forget about our inner comfort, but at the same time, like people say, you have to step out from the comfort and to achieve something. But again, you're not going to ruin yourself, right?
Yeah, you've touched on so many things there. The first one that I think is so important is the role of relationship. We know
Yeah.
it is the biggest contributor both to our happiness and to our well-being and to our mental and physical health. Those relationships are so incredibly important to us. And so yes, when you recognize that the running is great, but probably what they're really there for is the together, and
Yeah.
humans don't want to be alone. Dr. Keltner said we are wired to connect, and it is, our whole body is filled with systems that ask us to be with other humans. And that Harvard study on flourishing, the longest study ever done on human happiness, showed the biggest contributor to our well-being, both our physical health and our mental health, is the relationships we have. And so pairing those with the things we want to do, super important. But then if you go to the other side of it, so then you talked about this transformation period.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of that as kind of like when you learn to drive. And if you think back to when you first learned to drive, you get in the car and you don't know which pedal goes which way, and you don't know how much to turn, and you don't know how often to look at. And so you're really, really focused on everything you're doing, which is a lot of energy. And now when you drive, you can get in and not think of any of those things because it's moved to a different part of your brain. It's in
Yeah.
the default. And so there is this process. People call it rewiring, which I know is not correct.
Yeah.
We always talk about myelination, and the more myelin that you've got, the faster a connection is happening. And so that repetition of things that feels yucky at first is actually what makes that myelin allow that connection to happen more quickly, and it takes repetition. So just like you don't go to the gym and do one sit-up to get a set of abs, you also don't use a positive psychology intervention one time to feel better. It's
Mm-hmm.
all it's all about both repetition, and one of the great ways to do something that can feel repetitive and boring is to do it with other people, because then it will feel fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And yeah, it's like also I got a lot of thoughts about what you said, because we're so different, and at the same time many people just stuck to some ideas of other coaches or other psychologists, other people, guru on the internet, whatever. And like I remember there was one coach, like trainer, about the flat stomach and flat belly, and everybody wanted to get this flat belly. And I said, first of all, we're different by structure. Sometimes we can have a little belly, it's normal. But secondly, the exercises she provided, it was damaging for our pelvic floor. And I said, it's very, because women start complaining that they have some problem with leaking or urine leaking, and then I said, this is the damaging signals, like, not every exercise is good for your body. And especially if you have already the problems, so it had to be individual approach, not just like everybody's like, okay, go flat. I said, why do you need only like flat? I mean, sometimes the curve is very beautiful and much better than a flat belly, right? And that's my point, that people, like, they want to copy someone without understanding that actually the copy is not good. You have to find your own image. You have to find your own image, even psychological image. Like, you cannot copy somebody's psychological condition or all these ideas, because I listen to many people, like, I mean, I'm reading and listen and watching. And sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree, but my disagreement doesn't mean that I'm wrong, or like, it's just like what is not going with me, with my comfortable inner being. And that's why, yeah. And probably this all strategies should be customized, like we say, or come closer to every person who would like to learn more about um, this flourishing, how to improve psychological condition, not just psychological, any, like I like the word well-being you used before, because well-being, it's a well-being, right? And
Yeah, I think so. And I see flourishing as the outcome of positive well-being. So when you've got, I mean, well-being sits on a continuum, right? And you can be doing all of the things and still not really flourishing if you have a history of trauma or if you're dealing with a disease. And then
yeah,
somebody else can be doing very little and flourishing. And so this is about that individual. It's your nature, it's your nurture. Um, as you were talking about with the abdominals, right? Nobody as a baby looks down and thinks, man, my tummy is fat. Everybody thinks babies' tummies are cute. And then somewhere along the way, social media and popular culture and magazines tell us that we should look different than we are. And we take that on.
well,
And
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think when you started, you talked about trusting your gut and knowing yourself. And I think one of the greatest challenges of being human is that we are systematically educated out of trusting our gut. When we go to school, we're told, I put my hand up and say, I need to go to the bathroom. And they say, no, it's not time to go to the bathroom. Well, it was my time to go to the bathroom. I did have to go. My body gave me a signal. And so hearing this is when you go to the bathroom, this is when you exercise, this is when you do math, this is when you read, we start to believe that somebody else knows us better than we know ourselves. And I know personally, by the time I was a 20-year-old, I was so disconnected from my own, I like to think of it as my inner GPS, that I couldn't read its signals. And I remember a mentor of mine saying, okay, what is the emotion you feel right now? And I was like, I don't know. I don't have a language for this. I don't know. Even if I had a language, I feel fine all of the time. And that just showed I mean, nobody's fine all of the time. I was just so disconnected from my own inner GPS that I wasn't reading it well anymore. And I think that's one of the gifts that comes as we age, is that we
Exactly.
probably a little more
Yeah.
time on that introspection, reflection, going, okay, do I really feel fine? Or maybe I feel less fine today. Maybe I'm a little overwhelmed. And it's a practice, right? We are works in
The
progress.
practice is experience. It's actually the respect to your own life, because when you're young, you don't have such respect to your own life and even to your body, because you disconnect. It's true, like you're looking for images outside, but you don't understand who you are, and you try to cope with that. You try to achieve something that other people achieve. But it's when I always laugh when somebody says, oh, like age, let's say 50 or 55, 60. Oh, I feel like I'm 20. And I was thinking, how I feel at 20. Oh, I was depressed. I went through a lot of problems. And I started remembering, no, I didn't want to feel like I was like
Oh,
20 years old.
I don't ever want to go back to those
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Ugh.
I'm experienced now. I have a lot of knowledge. I'm like, I'm enjoying what I know, what I do. Like, I'm not gonna be like 20 and sitting and crying that my life is over because I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve at 20 years old. But come on. There was
Although I do think I thought I knew a lot more. The older I get, the less I know. And I think that's a good thing. I really think that anybody who thinks they have it all together probably still has a lot to learn. And so I feel like my second half of life is all about unlearning all of the things that I thought I knew.
and the more you older, not the less you know, but probably you understand that the universe and universal knowledge and people around with their knowledge. So your knowledge just a little tiny drop of knowledge. And then you start understanding that you know almost nothing, because you start exploring, and you coming out from your own books of knowledge, right? And then you feel, oh my God, like I don't know that, I don't know this, I don't know anything. That's why. But I start like thinking that actually I know a lot, and I'm proud that I'm known so much, right? But of course, it's nothing to compare if you compare with the knowledge of all people on this planet and all generations and all this, like, so especially when you go to museums, so you go to some historical places and then you see the, let's say, like a work of art, or like name it, like something like really really like older than you, and probably 100 times, like from 2000 or I mean 2000 before the Christ, whatever. And then you're thinking, oh my God, this is thing, or this is piece of art, it's much older than I am. And even we were talking about history of Britain with my husband. Sometimes when we drive and we talk a lot. And then we were talking about history of Canada, and we went to the city that actually was one of the first settlement in Canada. And then, as you can imagine, it's like already like how many generation, at least like 7, 8 generation, maybe 10 generation passed after there was like people start living here. And then we start analyzing what's happened during this 300, 400 years. And then just like, oh my God. And then you realize like you're just a tiny drop in the history of even Canadian society. Unfortunately, and our time is coming to the end. And we were in the flow of talking. It's such an interesting conversation. I really enjoyed. Thank you, Tamara. And what would you like to say? Just a few words to summarize, and some kind of like, how to sell tips for our viewers and listeners about what we were talking about, this flourishing.
Well, I think everybody is their own best expert. And so what I'm going to encourage your audience to do, because I love this conversation, and if they're intrigued to learn more, I have a book called The Happiness Reset. So I would say that's a great place to start. And I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm not so active on other social media channels, but your curiosity and flourishing is different for everybody. If you're a researcher, connect with me. I'm doing some really cool stuff in the AI space through the Harvard Flourishing community. And yeah, let's just continue this conversation another time, but feel free to connect with me and ask questions. You said that there were comments. I will check that out and make sure that I answer. And let's just say to be continued, because I think we started a great conversation here.
Yeah, it's a nice ending, to be continued. And by the way, I know you were in a project about psychological safety, right? And yeah, and that's what I was thinking, that it's another topic I would like to discuss, because I remember Dr. Saliman expression that when he called the psychology positive psychology, people were asking what is negative psychology, but so we have to think that as a part of psychology, negative one. But I was reading some books on dark psychology about abusing and abusers, right? I was reading some books and articles on pathological psychology. Even a course now they have on Coursera, I guess, pathological psychology is quite interesting. And yes, and that's why we cannot say that all psychology is just positive, or we have positive and negative. But probably when we talk about dark psychology or other type of psychology that are not flourishing, not about happiness, it's because this psychology about our mind and our, like, psychological safety. Like some people can be abusers, some people can use knowledge even of psychology to manipulate, to control other people. And that's why I would like to talk in our next topic, and I'm sure people would like this topic, because usually this part of topic usually like left behind. And we're looking ahead for happiness, but it's left behind because we forget there's other part of relationship, other part of psychology as well. So I hope I'll see you soon.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lovely conversation, and
I
we
enjoy it.
continue.
And thank you very much for joining me. And please, everybody, subscribe to my channel and watch other podcasts and follow me. And also subscribe to this page of Tamara. And I know today you posted on LinkedIn some short video. So you can find us. It's easy to find us. And then ask questions, write comments, and see you next time. Okay, bye.
Thank you.